All right, everybody, we are live, and what we're going to be doing today is finally getting my Apple IIgs here booted up after 7.5 years. So just to give you a recap of what happened with this machine, way back in 2016, I decided to do one of my retro reviews where we went out and kind of just went through the whole machine and showed how it worked. And whatever happened during that video, led to the reefer cap in the power supply blowing up, and we had all of this smoke. I've got an image of it here. Let me pull it up here for you. Got to find the right camera number here. So here we go. So this happened. You can find this on my extras channel. This is the Yule log, and that is the reefer cap that exploded on it. And it led to a lot of smoke. And this is a very common problem with these Apple power supplies. So what I did is I went out and got it rebuilt. I could have done it myself, but I figured I would send it off to a professional. So I went to reactivemicro.com. I bought a HDMI board from them the other day. And they have a great service where you send them your power supply and they put a new one in. So they put this rebuilt Apple power supply that they made into your power supply, and you're good to go. So that's what is in this power supply now. So hopefully this Apple IIgs will get up and running again. And I have another thing I need to put into it, which just disappeared. I must have put it on my other desk. I got to go find it in a minute. That's also going to address the other thing that we last talked about on this, which is the battery that used to be right in here. I'll give you my overhead view. So there used to be a battery here for saving the system settings on this machine that I took out because they are known for leaking all over the main board. So we took that battery out about 2 years ago just to make sure we didn't have any issues with it. And check it out. This is what the battery looked like. It was fine. In fact, it hadn't started leaking yet. But this battery was so old. It was made in Germany, and it preceded the reunification. So it said West Germany on it, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, so this machine is old. It was probably built in 1987 or 86. It still worked up until the time that reefer cap went. In fact, it probably would still work, but I figured if you had the magic smoke come out, it's probably best to stop operating the computer. So that's what we went with there. And if you have questions, by the way, leave them in the chat. If you're watching the recorded version of this, I will have an index so you can jump ahead to different things. And I want to thank my friend Tech Time with Eric. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated there. And we also have Kevin Hawthorne joining us, Joe Tyson. Our usuals are all popping in here, which is great. I haven't done a live in a while. I'm going to try to do more of these now because I'm finding some more time that the kids are out of school to actually do some of the live stuff that I like to do. So let me take you on a tour of this computer first, and then we will get to upgrading. And so the video that I did 7.5 years ago really took you through all of the operational components of this computer. So I would definitely suggest checking that out. And you'll see it in the playlist that's linked below. But in a nutshell here, what I've got for cards is I have this one here. This is the CFFA 3000. If you watched my video a couple of days ago about the Apple IIe that I have, I've got another one of these in that. And what this card does is it allows you to basically turn a USB drive or a compact flash card or both into a hard drive. And you can actually boot off of disk images that can then go into modern hardware and boot up an emulation. So it's very easy to move files back and forth with one of these things. In fact, you can put a physical floppy drive into the computer, plug it in, and then you can write out your disks into a flash drive. Just like that. It's amazing. So it's a great way to image disks. It's a great way to use your computer the way you want. So good stuff there. And this is one of the originals. Reactive Micro actually sells these now. So they are still available. Hobbyist made. This center card I can't take out, but I can show it to you. So this is a Transwarp GS, and this is an accelerator board. So the Apple IIgs has the same processor as our beloved Super Nintendo, a 65C816, but it only runs only runs at 2.8 megahertz, not very fast. So this board initially I think brought it up to like 7 megahertz or so, but now it is running at 12. So when you have the thing fully, engaged, you're hauling. And then this card is kind of neat. I'll pull it out here. This one looks different now than, actually it's kind of in there pretty good. I'll leave it in for now. This card right here is called the Ethernet. And what this does is it basically gives you Ethernet for your Apple IIgs. Now there's not really like a good web browser. Maybe there is now, I'll have to look. But it is a quick and easy way to get files FTP'd back and forth. You can get on IRC, you can do Telnet with it. So kind of a neat thing to have in there. Now this is actually a remnant of a card that I still have but not installed in the computer at the moment. I bought back in the day, probably 1988 or so, maybe 89, I bought a PC emulator card called the PC Transporter. And that basically gave this thing the ability to become an 8086 PC. And it would work with the actual disk drives that I have for this computer, the Apple drives. But in order for those drives to work, you had to connect them to this breakout cable here. So this would connect to that transwarp card, or the, not the transwarp, the PC transporter, so you could do that. And then here I have my memory. So there's 4 megabytes of RAM inside of this monster. So it's pretty crazy stuff. CR Paul is here. Yes, I live. I'm not a recording today. I'm actually live. It's raining outside. The kids are occupied, so I figured I'd sneak down here and get something done. Hola, Fernando. Que pasa? Hello from Mexico. And also another que pasa to Brante96 from Chile. Awesome. I hope you're a fan too. And thank you all for watching. Neuropilot is here. ThuGamer11 is here. And Levi is here too. And the Ethernet is not in backwards. So this is an older version of it. So I think the newer ones might go in a different direction. But I have not taken it out. And the last time I used it, it was in there. And on November 2nd, the Vintage Computer Federation will have a swap meet in Wall, New Jersey. Oh, cool. Be able to check that out. Might be kind of fun to go do that. So yeah, so that's what we are up to here. And I also want to thank Sina Farhat for becoming a member again. Thank you very much. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to do more with the members here too. So we've got all sorts of stuff going on right now. All right, so now I've got to find that piece that I just talked about because it just disappeared wherever it went. And I may have to go grab it from my desk over there because I think... So what we're going to do first is actually deal with the battery issue. Let me see if I left it on the other table there. You know, it's funny, the older I get, the more I forget. When I put things down, and then I forget that I put them down. Well, it's not over here, so I must have... I heard something drop off my table here when I first sat down to start. So what we're going to do is first get this very quick and easy no solder fix for the battery that I took out. So this computer does store a lot of kind of settings data for a couple of different things that it does. One of them is the settings for the computer itself as far as how fast it runs, what the slots do. Because one of the issues you run into on the Apple IIs is that you've got 7 slots here, plus the memory card expansion slot. But in addition to that, on the back here, as you can see, you have built-in disk controllers, video outputs. This has the Apple Desktop Bus, which is also on the Mac. So you can actually use Mac peripherals with this, which we will be using in a minute. And I have to go grab a keyboard as well. And then over here, we have 2 serial ports. Now, all of these map to a slot on the motherboard. So this maps to slot 5 and 6. These 2 map to slot 1 and 2, respectively. So you can either use the port or use a card, but not both. So that is kind of the limitation with it. Although you have all these slots, on the 2GS, you also have built-in hardware. So you got to choose one or the other. And it's a little easier to choose now because I don't have a printer hooked up to this, so I can use the CFFA as a disk drive in slot 1. It'll work there. And now I just had to find where my thing went. So give me a second here to find this. I'll take a couple questions here while I look. And yeah, so this particular one, right, was an older one. So the new one, I think, goes in the other direction. Hey, my friend Con is here. Hello from Berlin. So guess what? I might be going back there again. So send me an email. Let's get together again. We'll go grab a bite. I will let you know. But I might be coming back to Berlin very shortly. Steve is here. And yes, pizza time. I just have my coffee this afternoon. Flood of Sins is here. Yeah, this was like my first real computer that I tinkered with. So this one has a lot of work done on it. And even when I had it at the time, it was very expensive to upgrade these things back in the day. Like I remember I never had a hard drive for it up until just recently, or at least within the last, at least in the 21st century, because it cost a fortune to get hard drives for this thing. And a friend of mine had a Vulcan hard drive that would actually replace the power supply. So you took out the power supply and put in the Vulcan hard drive. But now with the CFFA, it makes life a lot easier. In fact, I've got a bunch of disk images on this that we're going to boot from as soon as I find the battery thing that, I don't know what happened to it. I just sat down to start streaming, and it was like right here with me. So if you're watching the recording of this, just click ahead, and you will find it. So yeah, so we will track that thing down. I did put batteries in it, and I brought it downstairs. I heard something fall off the desk when I sat down here, and I've really got to clean up this place. So what happens is I go from like one project to the next, and then I just lose stuff. So maybe what we'll do is forego the fixing of the battery thing for now, because we really don't need it to boot the computer up. It just won't remember the settings that we put in place. But what I will do is get the power supply hooked up, and we'll route our CFFA 3000 here as well. Yes, we do have a thunderstorm going on here. We should be okay. And if not, this thing's already taken a nice nice hit, so I think we'll be all right. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm just routing through this USB extension cable so I can more easily get at the drive later on. So let's put that in here. Yeah, AI would never forget, or AI Lon would not forget. That's right. I should have had AI Lon do this today. Oh well. It wasn't very exciting. It was just this this little battery holder that you put two AAA batteries in, and it replaces that lithium battery that would power things. What's crazy is that the battery I took out was still working after like 30 years. So that battery kept the settings on this computer for 30 years, which was crazy. And it was still good. It wasn't leaking, but apparently they all leak at some point, and they just destroy the motherboard. So if you have an Apple IIgs kicking around, or you know someone who does, just snip those batteries right out. Just take some cutters and just snip, snip. Get them out, because it is nothing but bad news. All right, so I'm not going to hold you guys up here. We're just going to go ahead and get the power supply installed here. So this is not all that difficult because there's not much to do here beyond just putting it in place. Maybe I have to put it into its spot here. So it goes in, let's see, the switch is there. Just trying to remember how this goes in. I just yanked it out at the time, and does it rest down on top of that maybe? Let's see. Oh, I see, it goes in like this. So it kind of snaps into place. I'm hoping this is the right one. It feels a little longer, actually. Unless this piece of plastic comes out. Let's see. Oh, we put it in underneath. Let's see. So it does line up. Oh, I see. There's holes on the top here. So it goes, oh, I see. There it goes. It just snaps right in like that. Look at that. That's pretty handy. Now I'm regretting putting this cable in that way, so I'm going to yank this out and go into the next port here. And we'll just feed it through this way. All right, so we'll get that installed like so. Make sure that card is reseated. And then we'll put let me take the card out actually, and then reseat it that way. And this card could work pretty much in any slot. So I could put it in slot 7. I could put it in 6 or 5. I just had it in 1 because I was running some other devices on it previously, I think. And we'll just put that cable in like that. All right. There we go. And yeah, I would love to go to one of those. I want to go to a ham radio swap also. So yeah, great. So Con, yeah, get in touch. Let's see if we can meet up again. So yeah, there should be no magic smoke in this repair because I didn't do the repair myself. So I sent in my drive for rebuilding and got it back. So that's kind of what we did there. All right, so let's just pop the CFFA back in. All right, that's good. Okay. All right. So now I've got my cable here. And I think after 7.5 years, we can fire this up again. Yeah, so I didn't realize it had been this long, but it had been 7.5 years. It's crazy how fast time goes by. All right. There we go. So my now 8-year-old was like a baby. Crazy. All right, so we're going to plug the monitor in. I was going to do this stream last night, and I was looking all over for this cable. And as it turns out, I couldn't find the monitor cable for this thing. And as it turns out, the Mac has the same cable. Although the monitor doesn't work on the Mac, the cable pinouts are the same. So I was able to find this one, even though it's not the official one. All right, so we're going to plug that in there. And I do have to go get a keyboard. And I have a mouse already. So check out my trackball. Isn't that cool? So this is a OG Kensington. And that still works. It's crazy how good it does actually still work. All right, so bear with me because I forgot to get my keyboard. So let me go get that real quick while I sip my coffee. And we will get this thing booted up. I thought I had everything put together, and I was in such a rush. I'm like, you know what, I've got an hour here before the kids are going to start looking for me. So let's make the best of it. And then I got started, and here you go. All right, so I got a keyboard here. Oops. And I need 2 cables. I think those are not the same. Hang on a second. Here's a, ooh. All right, so we got 1 cable. I got the keyboard. What I need is a second cable for the mouse, which I know I've got somewhere else. Let me see if I think I saw it yesterday. So the way this works, this is the Apple desktop bus. And my 2GS keyboard, my original, was it was destroyed through a lot of usage. So we're going to use a Mac keyboard here. This is probably one from the LC era. But these were all compatible. So this keyboard and this mouse were marketed as Macintosh devices, but they all supported the Apple desktop bus. So I have a cable here that will plug into one port on the back of the 2GS here. And this cable, or this bus, will allow me to plug the mouse into the keyboard. And I thought I had this cable out last night, but I guess I must have put it someplace. Let's see if it's in here. Here it is. Okay, so that's one other thing I found. So now we're going to route from the keyboard here. This is actually this is like the precursor to USB. And if I'm not mistaken, I think some of USB was inspired by or came from what we have here. Look at that. So what's nice about the trackball is that I can use it on this very small desk here and still get things done. Let me move my Mac over here a little bit. All right. And Dave Bound is here. It is a perfect activity for a rainy day. Neuropilot says 4 megabytes. Who would need more than 640K? Nobody, right? So when I got this computer, believe it or not, I bought with my own money. I saved up back in 1987, I think, 88. No, I bought this in 89. So I was 13, and I bought it from this retired guy who was looking to get a different computer. I think he was moving to the PC. So it came kind of like already configured with enough RAM. So these initially would only ship with 256K of RAM. So you had to pay extra for the expanded memory. And you had to pay extra for something else. I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was not cheap to get one of these. So I was able to get kind of a pre-configured machine. He had a bunch of software, including like Apple Works and everything. So that was really helpful. OK, so before I boot it up, I've got this memory stick here that's got a bunch of disk images loaded on. So we're just going to pop it in here. This is what's so cool about this modern hardware is that I can plug in a USB stick, and I'm using an old vintage one from like 16 years ago just because I think it kind of keeps it going. So this is a 1 gigabyte USB stick, which back in its day, when it was new, was a hot ticket. So let's see what happens here. That's a good sign. No smoke. And let's see if we get, there we go. It is coming up. All right. It works. So let's do we had to do a little bit of configuration here because I did not find that, where's the escape key? Here it is. So let me zoom in on the screen a little bit here. It may be difficult to shoot this CRT. And part of the problem is that HDMI thing that I got the other day, it's not going to work on this computer because the slot that it needs to go into is the slot that is currently occupied by the transwarp, the accelerator. So this may not be so fun to look at here. So we're going to change slot 1 to your card. The screen actually looks beautiful still. This is my original screen, and even though it's like you can see the Moyer pattern, the Moyer pattern on it, it's a little flaky. Let me know what it looks like to you all on the stream, because my software makes it smaller. Actually, it looks okay. It looks okay on the stream. Okay, that's not bad. All right. That's true. It would auto boot in slot 7. Maybe I'll move it to slot 7 in a little bit, because I do want to take this thing apart again. All right, so let's go back out a little bit here. And if I go into transwarp GS mode, so I have system speed is set to fast, which is at 2.6 gigahertz. This is at normal. So we're going to change this to transwarp, which will use the accelerator. So we've got that configured now. We'll do a quick self-test. This thing hasn't been tested in years. Let's see if it's working. So yeah, I will move it to 7 in a little bit. So I do have that slot open. I was going to put that HDMI card in there, but it doesn't work in anything but 3 on this particular GS. Yeah, I love these. I love the way this looked. And yes, the iMac was the very first. It sure was. And the Computer Chronicles has some great 2GS content if you look on YouTube for that. Okay. So I think we're good here. So let's quit. And I'll do control reset. And I actually got to do, hold down the M key. I think it's M. I can't remember now how to get into the menu on this thing. So there's a menu for the CFFA 3000. And I have to remember how to get into that again. I think it's M. Yeah, press the M key after you turn it on. Okay, so when we shut it off. Yeah, so now we're going to do the reboot. Let's see if it survives. I'll give you a better view of the screen here. All right, so we're going to hold down M. And it may not work because I have to put the battery thing in. I'll go run upstairs and find that in a second. So that's what happens when you have a transwarp installed. All right, so yes, and I think if I go back in, because oops, yeah, so all right, we're going to move that card. I should have done that before. So we're going to move that card to slot 7. This is what I was talking about. So what happens on the 2GS is that, from what I showed you earlier on the back, each of these devices is mapped to a slot. So right now, with slot 1 set to printer port, the CFFA is not getting recognized. And if I turn the computer off because I don't have that battery thing installed, it forgets. So slot 7 is set to your card by default, so we can get around that particular issue. So why don't we do that real quick. And I'll unplug the power here. I must have left it upstairs. So I will do a quick short video showing you how I rectified that issue later. All right, so we're going to undo this, and we're going to move the CFFA to slot 7, which is over here. So slot 7 typically was like the one slot you could safely use for stuff, because that was not typically something any of the built-in peripherals used. So when I had that thing called the PC transporter, the PC card, I put that in slot 7. All right, so we'll rejigger everything here. And now it should work. That's why when I got the PC, I was like, you mean I have slots that I can just use? Although you had IRQs, and it wasn't a perfect environment, but it was a little better. Doesn't that screen look great, though? I mean, this screen is 40-something years old. It's still perfect. I'm sure at some point we're going to have all sorts of capacitors to swap out on this thing soon. But what's crazy is this computer has been not used for 7.5 years, and it just comes back like nothing happened. There we go. Okay, we are good. So now, yeah, it still has, so that card must have some flash memory on it because it remembered what I had in there before. I'm trying to remember how to get, there we go. So we're going to log in. So these are all of the disk images that I have on the thing here. So we're going to put in Lon.1, which is my hard drive image, and back out of there. And what I'm also going to do here, let's see if it boots up. It's a good sign. It's getting somewhere along here. The mouse is not yet working, but it is lit up. So this mouse actually has an optical component to it. So although it does have rollers, it actually has an optical sensor that reads the position of the mouse. And I did hear it beep, so maybe this disk image is not a good one. I had the same issue on my emulator earlier, so I think I've got some corruption in this disk images, which is a bummer, yeah. Let's try it one more time, see what happens. And it could just be the transwarp being installed on it too. But we'll get something working, because there is a great little website with disk images that I can download some stuff from. Yeah, I think we can get it connected to 10 gigabit or 10 megabit. So there you go. All right. So you cannot play a YouTube video on this computer, unfortunately. And we're not going to be able to get the 4K, although this is kind of 4K, right? Yeah, there's all sorts of issues with slots, right? It's still not perfect. In fact, when I was, I had an issue with this computer that I use for all of the streaming that I do and all the production that I use it for, because the slot was sharing its bandwidth with 2 of the SATA ports on the motherboard that I wasn't using, and it was slowing down the max speed of the port. So when I had a 10 gigabit Ethernet card in there, it was crashing sometimes. One time it happened in the middle of a stream that I was being compensated to do. So that was a nightmare. So it turned out to be a BIOS setting that I had to disable the sharing of the bandwidth. So that was an issue. All right, so let's go back here. So we know this disk image needs a little work. So I'm going to take this off the list for now. Now I have another version of it here called lon1.po, but I don't think that one's going to work. Well, let's see. If not, we've got plenty of other things we can boot. And what I'll do actually is grab a disk image from that website I was talking to you about and we'll see if that works better. So this is another version of what we just looked at. Now, this is just because I used to use Apple Talk to connect my 2GS to a Mac. That was how I was transferring files over before I got the CFFA 3000. So you could actually put this on a local talk network with a Mac. And Levi reminds us that this has a great sound chip. This has what's called an Ensoniq sound chip. And the sound on the 2GS was better than the Mac. In fact, what people are not aware of, and we're making progress here, what people are not aware of is that the 2GS actually had the first color Mac interface before the color Mac was released. Little known fact. And it looks like we're going to strike out here again too, but let's see. I'm holding out hope. I'm waiting for the beep. It might work. Let's see what happens. I'll tell you what, the display looks really good on this. I'm very, very pleased with how the display is holding up. All right, don't fear, everybody. I'm going to go to a great website, which I'm going to put up on screen here. This is called What is the 2GS? And on here, they have disk images that I can download. It's got to find, let's see, programming creative, system software. So they have like whole large like self-booting disk images. And I just have to grab one of those. So let me find that real quick while we stare at the screen here. By the way, this was kind of par for the course on these old computers. Things never worked like predictably the way they do now. So this was just how things rolled. All right, so we've got, yeah, here we go. Action games, a whole 32 meg volume dedicated to action and arcade games. Let me grab that one real quick. And we're just going to copy this to the HDV. I don't know if I can boot an HDV. Bear with me for a second here while I just look for. Here's another one too. I'm going to download 2 of these and see what we get. And you know there's a music one too, so let's do that. Okay. So I've got 3 different examples here. I think I can boot HDV images up. If I can't, I'll convert them. Yes, this is frozen up again. So let's switch it off. What I'm going to do here, this is what's great about this. So I'm going to take this USB stick. I'm going to plug it into my Mac here, on a hub no less. And I'm just going to copy these files over. So I'm just going to open it. I mean, this is literally copying files like you would on any modern computer. And then we can boot up a couple games directly, because I know those will work. So the bummer here is that I created this disk image. I have to move everything over. I have like all of the work that I did on this computer as a kid inside of those disk images. And I'm not worried about getting it out because there's a great app on the Windows side called Cider Press that allows you to just get into those disk images and work directly with the file system. So I will be able to recover files from that. In fact, we can actually mount that disk image with it. All right, so that is done. I'll eject this. Yeah, so back in the day, I had a 1200 baud modem on this thing. That was like the first computer I got online with was this very computer. It all started here. In fact, I ran a BBS on this for a very short period of time on a floppy disk because I couldn't afford a hard drive for it. So pretty crazy. So let me just wait for this drive to eject itself. I don't think I've written to this USB stick in about 5 years. So this machine was released in 1986. I did not get it when it was released. So it is, I've had it since 1989. So I've had it for 35 years. And it was probably manufactured in 88. So it's about 36 years old. And the only issue I've had with it is the power supply. That's it. And I'm using the oldest USB stick that I have in operation here. So this is like 16, 17 years old. Why not? Oop. And so what you're going to see first, if you're just tuning in, this is the transwarp accelerator that kind of lets you know that you've got some juice on board here. Okay, so we're going to go reassign the smart port here, so we're going to get rid of that. And now I've got, yeah, so it doesn't work with the HDV images apparently. All right, so why don't we just do the music one? Because I think what this will do is it will at least give us a means of browsing the files. Here's productivity. Oh, it does do HDV. Okay, hang on a second. Let's do the HDV first. So we're going to do productivity. And that should have AppleWorks on there. And then I'll put my other disk image on there too. So what we're looking at right now is what's on this stick. And get this, the ProDOS file system that this computer uses, the largest partition it allows is 32 megabytes. That's it. Isn't that crazy? So the largest addressable hard drive, well, that's not good. The largest, this is what life was like with the Apple IIgs. The largest hard drive you could boot up on here was 32 megabytes. So I'm guessing this music library, none of these are bootable, so we need to grab a system disk off of there too. Let's see. Yeah, same thing. Okay. One more round here, and then we'll have it working. So it looks like he's got like separate hard drive images on each of these. And this is just how it goes. So this is it. All right, so let me find a system boot drive here. Sorry, I'm just looking through I'll show you what I'm looking at here. The what is the 2GS website here. What I'm looking for is a bootable. He used to have these on here. Here we go. All versions of GSOS in ProDOS 16 hard drive image. All right, we're going to do this one. You know what? I'm going to do this one. This is the System 6.01 hard drive image. So I'm going to download that. And that will be what we need here. So bear with me for 1 second, folks. All right, so now I'll have a bootable, a bootable image on here. Get this, my 1 gigabyte drive is out of space. All right, hang on, let me clear off some space here. I have a 540 megabyte file for, I don't know what that is. Bear with me for 1 second. All right, that's not even readable. All right, 1 second, folks. We will get there in 1 second. And I promise you, this will work when I get there. All right, now I've got the space on there. So let's copy System 6 over. So now we've got a bootable drive as soon as this finishes copying. And who knows if this USB stick is still good, right? This thing's like 17 years old. Okay, so that is done. I'm going to pop the USB stick out. And then we can carry on. So let me take some questions here. Sorry, I'm missing so many here. Yeah, 32 megs is good enough for everybody, just like 640K. I know, we got it out of the way now. That's it. Yeah, so no, so the Apple II, so the Apple IIgs came out in '86, and there was a bit of of a schism within the organization because the Macs were expensive. Schools were still using Apple IIs. I think they were making the IIe. The IIe actually outlasted the GS, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, these machines were manufactured for a long time. So they got a lot of life out of the Apple II. So with the 2GS was kind of like a way to keep it going. Because the 2GS is completely backward compatible with the old Apple II software. So you could run everything on the old 8-bit Apple IIs and all the 16-bit software here as well. And this, of course, had more graphics. It was much better for that. I think the big issue here was that they didn't put a fast enough processor in there. And my guess is they did that on purpose because they wanted the Mac to feel faster, because they wanted to move people to that. But they knew that schools still had all of these Apple IIs. They had invested all of this money in software. So they had to figure out the backwards compatibility, number one, but also how do we keep them from going to an alternative to the Mac while still giving them something better that they want. And that was kind of where the 2GS fell. So eventually the Mac LC, which came out in '92, was kind of the death knell for the GS because they did include an emulator board that would allow the Mac to run all of the old software. All right, third time's the charm here. So what I'm going to do now is go down to the System 6 image. So that's going to be our main boot drive. Another drive is going to be my hard drive with my stuff on it. And then we'll do some action games here, and we'll do the productivity and the music. So now we've got like the whole gamut here, all right? So we've got 5 hard drives that will be connected to this thing. Unheard of back in the day, but through the use of modern technology, we can get there. All right, so now this is what should be a working disk image. Let's see what we get. Why should it all work on the first try? And the monitor, no, the monitor's in perfect shape. This is the original monitor. It's 36, 37 years old, has not had any work done on it. It is just perfect. And you can see how familiar this is if you ever used the Mac, but this is not the Mac. This is GSOS. And this operating system was designed just for the 2GS. Here we go. Now, right now, it's running at its native speed. So you can see how slow things are. And here's all the hard drives now mounting up on here. All right, we're good. So even though I can't boot from my hard drive here, you can see that my stuff is still visible. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is, let's go into the control panel. I'm going to turn on the, turn up the speed here a little bit. So you saw how slow everything was going here. We're going to go to transwarp now. And this control panel kind of sat in the background. Look how much faster that is. So it's still slow, but now it's like a little bit faster at least. And all of these hard drives are mounted on the USB stick that's right here. All right here. Isn't that crazy? I probably shouldn't touch it. All right, so now if I go to my archive, let's see. This is my BBS. I have it stored as a thing there. I'm not even sure what's in half of this stuff. So here's some of my high school work. Oh yeah, so here is, so I had a creative writing class in high school. Let's see if we can get a date on this file. Let's see. This is why it's really important, if you have the ability to do it, back up your stuff. Yeah, so this was from 1992, so I was probably, I think it's my sophomore year of high school, because I graduated in '94. Yes, this is the 91-92 school year. Actually, no, this is 91-92. Yeah, I think my junior year. Yes, I was 94, so yep. So why don't we load this up? This is, I think, my final report that I did. Oh, didn't find AppleWorks. So we have to load up AppleWorks for that. But here's some text files. Here's an ASCII version, I think. Here it goes. Yes, this is my My creative writing story. I created all these characters throughout the year, and then this was like the epic conclusion to their story. My teacher really enjoyed it. I still connect with her on Facebook. I'll have to send this to her. So there you go. Pretty cool. So that's like my archive of stuff. I've got a lot more, obviously, than that. But isn't that cool? It's neat. All right, so let's see what we've got on these disk images here. So we have, this is my drive. And I'm not sure if I have the drivers loaded for the Ethernet card. Here's AppleWorks. Now this was a lot slower to load when you didn't have an accelerator and a solid state drive driving things here. But AppleWorks was kind of neat because it was similar to what you had on the original Apple, but it was a suite that included a word processor. You had a spreadsheet, a database. I think I'm double-clicking by accident here. Yeah, so my BBS was called The Matrix. It wasn't very interesting. There was a lot of BBSs around at the time, so I don't know if you ever dialed into mine, but we were not a local call from each other. So the one that I dialed into the most was the Hub in Killingworth, Connecticut, and there was another one called the Star of Life in Clinton that I connected to a lot as well. So you can see even with the accelerator, this is not all that fast. Like this is actually very fast for it. So okay, so let me show you how this works, moving the window around, right? Okay, so keep an eye on that. So here we go. Okay, pretty zippy. But this is what it was like most of the time. Here, let me pull up Control-Shift-Escape. Oops. So if we go back and turn the speed back down. So down, it's down to normal. System speed is when you're in normal, system speed is regulating between the 2GS speed and the Apple II speed. All right, so now we're back at the normal speed. And watch how slow this is. Oh, actually, it's not bad. I think it's still on. It must lock in when you're in GSOS here, because this is still much faster than it should be. Unless the transwarp is not working at all. Oh, it didn't turn off. Okay, let me hit save. That's why I hit escape. I didn't hit save. That's why. Okay, so now we're on the slow speed. There you go. Now just imagine this running on a floppy disk. So you saw how fast AppleWorks loaded up. Now watch. And one of the things that you had to do with AppleWorks, if you did not have a hard drive like I didn't have, I had to boot off the system drive. You inserted the AppleWorks disk, and then you had to swap disks back and forth just to get to this screen. So even on the original GS, when you had a hard drive installed, everything got faster because you didn't have to do all this floppy swapping, and you had a little more speed to deal with there. But what was neat about AppleWorks here is that this was not like a multitasking computer. So we've gotten so used to having all of these different applications we could have loaded at one time. And inside of AppleWorks, you could have all of these things going at once. So for example, I could make a new drawing document here. So here's like my paintbrush thing here, okay? So I can draw stuff. It was kind of like MacPaint. It had that same vibe to it. Not very fast, as you can see. And then I could go back out, I think. Yeah, I think I just go to, yeah, I go over here, and I could say new, and I could do a word processor. And so in 1980, whatever, this was like a big deal because I could do all this stuff side by side here. I don't remember if I could do this or not in the word processor, but I think you could. Let's try it. And again, I'm running at the native speed here. I don't have the accelerator enabled. So if I copy this, can we go over to, let's see. Can I paste it in? Let's take a look. No, couldn't paste graphics there. So they had like a page layout program that could do some other stuff. But this was what it was like. It was not fast. Yeah, so you could have a total of 4 floppy drives. you could have two 3.5-inch floppy drives and two 5.25-inch drives. You got to do it. Listen, if nothing else, Matthew, you got to make sure that the battery, that would save the system information, you want to make sure that battery is snipped out because those batteries leak and destroy the motherboards. So every 2GS has a time bomb ticking in it. So be aware of that. So I never had to do the stick the phone in the modem thing, but a friend of mine had one of those. You wait for the tone and it would do that. Yep. All right, so there we go. So let's go back to the Finder here. But after this is what I think what Apple's strategy was that this was kind of the gateway drug to the Macintosh interface. And once you experienced it on here, and then you went to the Apple store, the Mac, they didn't have Apple stores back then, but they had the authorized Apple dealer. If you went to the Apple dealer and you sat down and used a Mac, you'd be like, wow, it's so much better on the Mac. And so you'd want to buy a Mac. That was kind of how this worked. So, wow, we got 98 people watching. This is pretty cool. So if you're just tuning in, we got my new hard drive installed on here, and it's working great. So let's see what's in this folder. So this is one of the disk images I downloaded from what is the 2GS. And he's got stuff organized quite nicely in here. So let's see, Creative Visual. Ooh, Deluxe Paint. Let's try that. I'm going to turn the accelerator back on. It's going a little too slow for my liking. If I have this thing, I may as well use it. So go up to Speed, Enable Transwarp. Let's make sure it took this time. Yeah, we're good. Now what can you configure on here? Okay, Apple Torque IRQ is on, startup graphics. Okay, so you could turn off that thing at startup. All right, so now we're faster. Look how much faster that is. So here is Deluxe Paint. And it's funny, I remember Deluxe Paint quite well because when I was a kid, my mother was big time into knitting. And I think she was either working at a store or helping somebody with a store. I can't remember exactly what the deal was. But I remember one day I got to take the day off from school because they were having some lady come down to talk about using a computer to design knitting stuff. And they had me bring my Apple IIgs, this actually very same computer, I brought with me to this knitting store where they were doing this stuff. And they gave us a copy of Deluxe Paint to take home. These are all like the sample images, I think. Well, that's cool. Can we zoom in? That's pretty cool, huh? These are all the sample images. And you could make your own adjustments or whatever. But it would run at a lower resolution because the lower resolution had more colors. It looks like it's too high up on the screen. I wonder if I can move the, yeah, there we go. Now can we zoom in? This is what zooms in, maybe? Oh, there we go. So I can zoom in. Oh, there you go. You can zoom in on a certain part. Very neat. I can mess it up. Had a bunch of sample stuff in here. Yeah, my mouse button is a little flaky. And I remember they sold this as they had a picture of King Tut. I don't know if that's on here or not. Looks like a bunch of clip art, but you get the idea. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's neat. Yeah, I haven't done a stream in a while. I'm going to do more. I'm planning to do Prime Day, a bunch of them on Prime Day, like I usually do. So I'm collecting stuff right now. So we will do some more. If you're just tuning in, we just got my Apple IIgs fired back up again. You can see that it's not on the back. Yep. So some things never change. Some things never change. And that is this 55-minute issue. What is the oldest legacy system I've seen in commercial use? I can't recall anything terribly old that I've seen. I bet you there's things that have been used around me that were quite old that I wasn't aware of. But I'm betting you there's Apple IIgs doing stuff somewhere, for sure. Maybe it was Paintworks Gold. I can't remember which one it was. Let's see what this one looks like. No, it wasn't Paintworks Gold. I think Deluxe Paint was the one that I had. There was a lot of these things because you had a much deeper color palette and a greater resolution to play with. And for a short time, remember there was no Mac that was in color like this. Not for long, but yeah, it's just instructions, nothing crazy here. But all the paint stuff was kind of boring. I was not much of an artist, and it was hard to work with a mouse. They did have things that you could poke around with and whatnot. But let's see what else we got. So let's look at the music stuff. I don't have this connected to my system here. Maybe I could figure out a way to do that. So we have that music library. The sound chip on this was as was noted earlier, was very advanced. So, gosh, there was Soundsmith, rings a bell. Yeah, there was this awesome. Yep. Now I'm recalling everything. There was a special tool that you could use, and it had really good audio. Here, Axel F. I seem to remember this. All right, so we got to see if we have Soundsmith on here. Soundsmith, because there was a tool that had to be installed inside a GSOS. And that's the library of music, but I don't, Noise Tracker, maybe Noise Tracker used, that might be what it was. It was only an 8-bit. All right, so what you're going to see happen here is it's going to click into Apple 8-bit mode. There it goes. It was Noise Tracker. FTA, yeah, this is all starting to come back to me now. So FTA was called the Free Tools Association. They were out of France, and these guys pushed things harder than anybody. So Noise Tracker, if I recall, Noise Tracker would play mod files from and you could make your own music also, but would play Amiga mod files. And they sounded great on here. I don't think it played Soundsmith, though. Let's see. Maybe it did. These are just sounds. Let's see. No. Here, I'll turn the volume up, see if we can pick it up on my mic here. It was loud for a minute, then it didn't, like, it almost like it burned itself out. I'll try to hook it up to the system here in a minute. Okay, yeah, so Noise Tracker was the mod player. Now, the Free Tool Association, I think I've got one of their demos on here, which we'll boot up in a minute. They did a lot of cool stuff because they started really hitting the hardware directly. They were coding at the metal, if you will. All right, so Noise Tracker was not Soundsmith. Soundsmith was, and the application's not in here, but what happened was there was something that came out. It was like a tool. You needed a certain amount of RAM. You had to do it in System 6 only, and it was like a revolutionary music creator. Maybe it's under this music studio. Yeah, I'm trying to remember from 30-something years ago. But I do remember being really excited about Soundsmith. I remember that well. Maybe it's on this, on here. Let's see. Yeah, nothing on there. This is a computer from the show Severance. I have to watch Severance. I have not seen it yet. So wait, did I watch Severance? Was that the one? Is that the one on Apple TV? Am I confusing them? And it is not you. It is the fact that we have a transwarp GS in here. Let me reboot it and I'll show you what happens. Let me shut it down. So on here we've got a transwarp GS. Oh, it doesn't do it. I have to like start it up from scratch. But yeah, this has the accelerators. This is actually running at 12 megahertz. So this machine is basically has been configured the way that I would have done it if I had unlimited funds back in the 80s. So this has the transwarp GS. I've got everything booting off of virtual hard drives on this USB stick. So what you're going to see are 5 32 megabyte partitions getting mounted, which are the maximum partition sizes you can have. We have Ethernet on here, which we're not using right now. I'd have to get some more stuff installed for that. Maybe we'll do a follow-up on it. But yeah, this thing's decked out. It was crazy. Yes, so I had David, I had the 2C. So what happened was we had the 2E initially, which my father had here for the business. He was running his business out of the house. His business grew and he had to move into an office, so he took the Apple IIe with him. And then I was computerless for a while, and then I got an Apple IIc. And then when I was 13, I got the 2GS, which I bought secondhand, which is this actual machine. So it was cool. Yeah, the image writer was awesome. So the image writer was a color printer. And what was nice about the 2GS is that they had, I think it's on my visual thing here. Let's see, creative visual. They had a great version of Print Shop on here that would let you print multiple colors on one document. Check this out. This is going to boot up in 8-bit mode also, if I remember correctly. How I remember these weird nonsense things. Yeah, there it goes, 8-bit mode. The Print Shop 2GS. Oh. Not compatible with hard drives, apparently. Required a 3.5-inch drive for whatever reason. We could actually rectify that, but I have to reboot. That's funny. Yeah, then it would, if you didn't close your windows before you jumped out, it remembered everything that you had before. And when the computer is running at its native speed, it's slower than molasses. All right. You all want to see some games, huh? Let's do some games. See what we got for games on here. Here, Arkanoid was great. Arkanoid 2 was great on here. It was almost arcade perfect. Let's boot that up real quick. Taito had some great ports. Their Fun Time arcade series. Yeah, so all the Apples came with a bunch of discs. Although I don't think Adobe, I think Adobe was separate. But they did come with a lot of stuff. A lot of times people bought these secondhand like I did, so I got a lot of software with this. I'm sure you can hear the audio. My speaker's a little iffy. Does that look great? If it wasn't so slow, it would have held its own against the Amiga and the Atari ST. Wow. And some of these games really did show off what it could do, right? Like the color looks great. I mean, it's every bit a 16-bit game here, especially with the audio. Really good audio. I don't know if I can get out of here without actually killing the... Yeah, they didn't offer any way... So these games were designed to boot off of floppy disks, not from a hard drive, so you have to reboot the whole computer to get back out. This is a ROM 1 2GS, so there was also a ROM 3. Hey, maybe you two are related. This could be like a reunion. So David and Mick are both with the same last name. How about that? I don't know if you're all aware, there's another person with my exact same name out there, which is crazy. Okay, so now let's take a look at another game, another action game. So we have to reboot the whole system here. That was one of the challenges. If you had a hard drive, a lot of the games were not designed to run on a hard drive. So you had to run them off the floppy disk, even if you had the hard drive. So the hard drive was good for, all your work stuff. So the games that he's got on this hard drive image were bootable. Here, Kicks was another good one. They had great music and Kicks here. Let's do that one real quick. We'll have to reboot after. There's no way to get back out. Yes, Claris was what came out. That's right. And the Apple Works, which we can reboot into a little while, was a Claris. Can you all hear the audio okay? Sounded better in stereo. I could always hook it up to the system here. This game had the best music. And it really showed off the Ensoniq's audio capability. Yeah, this is just coming out of the speaker, but I just love the sound. This was the real strong point. I think at the time, the 2GS probably had the best audio capabilities on the market. The Atari ST, though, was used by, if I remember correctly, was used by a lot of, I forgot that I have to have a joystick attached for this. I totally forgot how to play this. I could try to connect I have a joystick back there. Maybe I should try to connect that up. There we go. Okay, so it's JK, and then I had to hit. There we go. There we go. You've probably seen this game before. It's been ported a million times. I had it on the Game Boy. It was on the Commodore. It was on everything. But I can't underscore how good the audio was on this thing. It was awesome. Yeah, it's hard to play with the keyboard. But sometimes you can get like a really good move here. Let's see if we can get a... There we go. Get a big chunk of the screen done there. And the goal was, of course, to get a certain percentage, right? So we needed to get to 65% here. You get a bonus for killing that plus sign there? No. That's not going to do it. You got another point, but that's about it. Ah, no! Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Got it done. How about that? Oh. Probably because it was in practice mode. For whatever reason, like this wanted... They had great music in this game. But like it wanted a joystick attached, so it was so hard to get to. It was almost like a slot machine game to try to get it started up. Yes, Oregon Trail was, that was one of the classics. That was an 8-bit game. There's actually a really cool hard drive image that you can get for emulators and for actual hardware. I'll have to see if I can find it. That's got like the entire library of Apple II games that you can get into one concise bootable thing. People on the Mister are using that one quite a bit. This is not on Mister, by the way. There is no Mister image for the Apple IIgs. Yes. So the GS did have stereo. And of course, the speaker inside wasn't, but there is a headphone jack on the back. And the Apple IIe did not have an audio output unless you had a secondary sound card in there. Here, we'll do it until I die here. Oop. See if I can get to level 2. Look at that. That was a move. Now this is the faster speed, so like if I was running it slower, if I was moving it, if I do it that way, it's hard, obviously harder, but you get more points. So that is kicks. Oh, I put my name in. Pretty cool music though, right? And think about it, if you had an Apple IIe and you went to this, like suddenly you got sound. All right. Yeah. Brings back memories. Unable to save high scores. Let's be, yeah. So we got to reboot here. Let's see what else we have on. There's a bunch of games on this disc. Let's see what else we got. Michael had the Apple IIc, as I did. Yes, Larry Bird versus Dr. J. I remember that game, one-on-one. And then you could do the slam dunk and break the glass, and the lady would come out with a broom and yell at you. She's like, remember that? That was great. That's a great game. David Tuttle's first family PC was the 2GS. So the repair, that's a good question. So over at reactivemicro.com, which is where I got this thing fixed, they have, you can buy the hard drive, the power supply outright. So the 2GS power supply is like $80, $70. But what I did, let's go back to their store here. What I did is I had them rebuild my existing power supply, because you can either get the parts and rebuild it yourself or have them do it. And so the rebuild costs like an extra $10. So why not do that? So you mail in your power supply and they give you a new one. Or you get yours back with the insides redone. So I did the power supply rebuild is what I did. Let me show you Space Ace. I got a bunch I want to show you here. So this is Space Ace, and this is the Space Ace that you will remember. So they actually got it ported. This shipped on like 10 floppy disks. I remember getting it in, and it's so hard. Like it's impossible, to be honest with you. I never got past the first screen. It'll take a second to load. Isn't that great? I used to bring this into school at study hall and play these games. We had an Apple IIgs in the computer lab. So I think they actually did a pretty passable job of, it's obviously not as good as the Laserdisc version. I don't remember how to play this at all. Yeah, this is about the extent of, of what I could do. They didn't give you the prompts either. So I guess I got all right, so I think what I got to do is not hit. Let me try this again. Who knows? Needless to say, that's about as far as I could get every time. Just never happened for me. So I never got off the first disc, but there was apparently 8 more of them, or 9 more of them. Pretty wild. Good stuff. Yeah. Things were not fast back then. You can actually find on archive.org, and I think there's a website called Retro Mags. Retro Mags, Retro M-A-G-S, Google it. they have archives of all those magazines. You can download the PDFs. Yeah, so this was like I think the game after Dragon's Lair was Space Ace, and I was so psyched that it was coming out. I'm talking like an 80s kid, that it was coming out for the Apple IIgs. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that game's actually coming out for the Apple IIgs. It's amazing. And then I got it, and I couldn't get past that screen, and that was it. The games often let you down. Here's another one. This one's great. Sylphied. I can still hear the music in my head. A friend of mine had this one. And Sierra Online, who they were known as. I'm not sure if Metal Jesus is watching today or not, but this was the company he worked for. And these guys imported these games from Japan and ported them to American computers. I think this was, Sylphied originated on the NEC PCs at the time. But all these games really made use of the sound. The gameplay wasn't always great because the processor wasn't that fast, but this is fun. I think everyone's having a good time. All right. I got a few more minutes. I can go till like 5:30, then I got to feed everybody. The one thing I did not have when I had my Apple IIgs as a kid was kids that I had to feed. I was the one being fed. Now the karma. My mom said, you're going to have kids just like you. So here we go. But I'm happy. This thing's working. All right, now if I remember correctly, we're going to hear some speech. Yes. It's got to load.
I am an emperor of the universe acolyte. You cannot destroy me as long as I have glory.
Okay. You cannot destroy me as long as I am glory. All right, how do we play this game? All right, All right, I'm blowing out the speaker here. I can't remember how to shoot. All right, so you know what? I think I need is it, oh, that's right. Okay, so this uses the number pad. Now, there is a better version of this game I'm going to pause this real quick. I'm going to turn the sound down slightly because the speaker is blowing out here. It sounds a little better. So there is a version of this, plays pretty much the same way on the Sega CD, and that's my favorite version of Sylphied. It plays awesome. But yeah, it's like I shoot 'em up. But at the time, these games were pretty cool. I mean, it was, they were better than the Nintendo. You didn't get the side scrollers, so like, computers had their own type of games like these. They could do a little bit more graphically. The sound was better. Right? I think the sound really was the big selling point here. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, let's see what else we got on here. Do a few more, then I got to run. Wow. $2,000. That's how much these things were worth back then. I mean, people would pay like, I don't know where that came from. People would pay a lot of money for these computers because they were expensive. I think, if I remember correctly, I think I paid $1,700. Let me see what that's worth today. This was like lawn mowing money. So if I paid $1,700 back in 1989, 89 or 90, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was probably one of those 2 years. Wow, so the equivalent today is like $4,400, and this was secondhand. So when these were new, you paid, I mean, it was $2,000 or $3,000 of $1989, not or $1988. These things were not cheap. All right, we'll do one or two more here. Let's see, is Test Drive on here? No. They had a clone of of Narc on here, but I need a joystick to play that one. Here, let's look at Tunnels. Tunnels looks pretty wild. I'd like to know more. How did that happen? Somebody invited you back to their dorm room? That must have been kind of crazy. I don't think I would have gone. Tunnels of Armageddon. This is like a spaceship something or other. You're in a tunnel of Armageddon. All right, line up. Oh, geez, this had the copyright thing on there. I'll do the demo. Oh, geez. Look up gray on the outer wheel. Let's just play the demo here. Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. So the other thing is when you had a computer that only ran at 2.6 megahertz, the game was often in a very small window, like you have here. But this game was pretty cool. I mean, it had a 3D effect to it. It looked pretty neat. Isn't that cool? Tunnels of Armageddon. Yeah, you know what's funny is I don't think people know what they're worth, at least these days. I think there's so much, like it's worth nothing to somebody who's got one in their basement, but the nostalgia factor is real. So that's for sure. Yeah, if you get, maybe I guessed right. Yeah, I think we got through the storm here, everybody. Yeah, hey DJ, if you come across any of these machines, send me an email at Lon.TV. I might be interested. So I kind of want to get a ROM 3 2GS now, so I can put that HDMI thing in it, because I can't put it in this one because of the accelerator card that I've got on board. All right, so we're gonna do. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do one other thing, because I want to see what I have a few other disk images that can boot direct on here. So let's see what else I have on the stick. And then maybe we'll come back and do another stream. This stream seems to have held people's attention here, so I might come back and do another one at a later time. We still have a little bit more work to do on this machine. So let me get rid of all these disk images here. So now, I'm just trying to see what I have. So Out of This World is on here. I have that. Rocket Ranger was another good one. Test Drive 2. Y'all ever played Zany Golf? I just said y'all. Have you all ever played Zany Golf? Well, now you will. Zany Golf is wild. It's a miniature golf game. This was another frequent study hall. Yeah, so we paid, it looks like Zany Golf's disk image is bad. We paid about that for our Apple IIe in '84. It's expensive. This stuff was not cheap. All right, so that game didn't work. I got to fix the disk image. The disk images here, some of them work better than others, but here, let's see how Out of This World works on this thing. So this is running at the native speed, I think. Oh, that doesn't work either. I'm striking out here. Let's see. Oh, you know why? Maybe it's because it's in the smart port. So disk 2 assignments. All right, so that's the 5 1/4 inch images. Yeah, I guess these are just bad images. Let's see. Let's see if Test Drive loads up. That one's working. Okay. Nope. Cannot run. Please try again. I wonder if it's because we have, let me see if the accelerator is screwing that up. I think we went back to normal speed, right? No, we had the transwarp enabled. That might be why. All right, let's try that. If not, I just have to find better images. Yeah, doesn't seem like that one either. All right. I may come back and do another video of some of the 2GS games that we couldn't get working on here. All right, let's try one more. So Out of This World didn't work. Test Drive didn't work. About Rocket Ranger. This is another game I didn't really play all that much, but should have. All right, this one's making progress here. That's right, Sharon. Hit that like button. Smash it. Smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. All the above. We're reliving my childhood. All right, so this is Rocket Ranger. This was a CinemaWare game. They did some great stuff in this era. And you got all sorts of cool stuff in the box. Like this was back when games were games. Oh, totally. You could run this computer on a Raspberry Pi. And so, yeah, now we're going to get taken off of YouTube because this is it's a game. It's a game. Let me get through this screen here. All right, hang on. You're fighting him. There we go. Master of Europe. Okay. So we have to defeat the German army. And we wait for it to load up here. I bet you I'm going to lose my... I forgot that had that in there. I'm going to turn the volume down also. It's a little loud. And I think this also had copy protection on it. All right, let's see what we get here. Okay, there we go. So War Room, Fuel Depot. I just want to take off. Let's just get to it. I think these games did better on the Amiga. So I'm pretty sure it did. I think Defender of the Crown was on this too. I'm not sure why that's not working. Let's see. Take off one of these buttons. There we go. Okay, into the locket chamber. So let's load up. We have to go take them out over here. So let's launch. Not sure where I'm going, but I'm going somewhere. So give it a second here while we're waiting for it to load. I just want to get that swastika off the, there we go. Okay. Oops. So the graphics look better than it runs. That's how fast it ran. So what you could get is a fast game or a pretty game, but not both. So times are better now. But I got to give CinemaWare credit. They did a lot of these types of games, and they were all different and unique. So you had this. It came from the desert, never came out on the Apple IIgs, but that was like, I think their probably best game, maybe one of their last ones. But I remember getting these games and like being excited for them and then always disappointed. Like I could never, like they would never be as good as the marketing would suggest they were. They ran slow, you know, that kind of thing. All right, let's see what happens here. Yeah, so you can see just how slow this is running here. You gotta be careful not to blow the Zeppelin up. I think our objective is to shoot these things. Shoot the missiles, maybe? There we go. I can't believe how slow this is. I wonder why I stopped playing it. Yes, this is the state of computer gaming at that point. But this was right before the PC games really took off. So like when like Wing Commander came out on the PC, I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Because this is just, you know, like the game looks cool, but you couldn't make the game run well on this hardware. It's just too slow. I'm guessing it probably ran a little better on the Amiga. I think Amiga was like their main platform. So there you go. All right, let's see if I got time for one more. And then I've got to go back out and try to find some working disk images here. Yeah, this was a port. I think the Amiga one probably ran a lot better. I should try that out and see how that one. Like Defender of the Crown worked fine because there wasn't much to it, but that game just did not hold up. Let's see. So unfortunately, Test Drive didn't work. Winter Games. Let's see if Winter Games boots up. Winter Games is one of my favorites on this. This was another study hall game. But it was kind of fun, like the fact that my high school did not have a lot of great technology, believe it or not. So we had two 2GSs in the school, one on the middle school wing and one on the high school wing. So to be able to go like at study hall and boot up like these 16-bit quality games at school was the selling point for me. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, for a very short period of time, this was a hot ticket because it had the graphics capabilities that you saw on the Atari and the Amiga, probably comparably priced, but it had superior sound, for sure. The sound quality was great. So I still, like, the music in this is still, like, in my head. All right. And remember, this is before the fall of the Soviet Union, so you didn't have Russia, you had the USSR. I think it was Hot Dog that had that song. Let's see. If I remember correctly. Let's see what we get here. Yeah. Now, I think this game was ahead of its time because the hot dog wasn't an Olympic sport at the time this game came out. There we go. So yeah, I put a lot of time into this one for some reason. And then we had like Space Quest 1 and 2. We didn't get Space Quest 3, but there was the King's Quest games. There's a lot of Sierra games out for this. I've got floppy disks back there that probably still work too. So yeah, good stuff. So there you go. Well, the good news is my Apple IIgs is working. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, let's bring it back to our Finder image here, and then yeah, we'll come back to it. it's just nice after seven years that this thing was not functional because of that. I mean, it wasn't any reason that, I mean, I just never fixed it. But it's fun to have it back up and running again. So yeah, I'm excited to do more with it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's neat. So let me know what you'd like to do with this in the future. So if you leave me some comments, we can figure out some other things to do with my Apple IIgs there. Yeah, we could sell the floppies to the DoD, James. That's right. There's some value to that. Actually, I have, so this might be another stream. So in my basement back here, a couple of years ago, my friend Ken Gagney, who's very connected in the Apple II scene, had somebody reach out to him who's from Connecticut, who had basically a Subaru station wagon full of stuff from a user group that he used to run, mostly Apple II related. So I got this stuff years ago. It's been in the back there. I've gone through it a little bit, but I haven't really gone through it yet. And maybe that might be a future stream where we just go through all the boxes, or maybe one box at a time on each stream, because there's some gems in there. A lot of Apple II floppies. There's a lot of brand new floppy disks. And in fact, there's a box of them still in the shrink wrap that haven't been opened yet. So it's yeah, there's some good stuff there. But yeah, you can get a feel for how this used to work. This is the regular speed. And we'll turn on the transwarp again, get our back to transwarp speed here. So now we're at 12 megahertz, up from 2. Let's see if there's anything else on here that might be fun to look at. So I have some games on my own. These are just like GSOS games that would run. I haven't gone through this disk image in a while. Yes, Marinetti is the stuff that works with the Ethernet card that's on here, which is the Ethernet card that I've got. This is the, so whenever you downloaded stuff off of BBS, it was compressed with SHK or Shrink It. The print shop is on here, Point to Point, which was a terminal emulator. I got Telnet here. This is what I use to connect with that Ethernet card. I don't think I have it hooked up at the moment. So yeah, so there you go. Lots of fun stuff. All right, I got to run, but I want to thank Tech Time with Eric for your contribution, and to Sina for becoming a member or rejoining as a member. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, it'll be fun. But yeah, maybe we'll do a stream where I just go through that box of stuff in the back. There's a lot there. So it's like all the way over there. And yeah, we'll do something with it. It's in my concrete bunker back there, so I got to run some cables to make it all work. But that might be a fun stream, because I do need to clean up this place. It's a disaster. I've made some progress, but I need to make more progress. So that'll be it. But I'm going to shut down the Apple IIgs here. It's all working. It hasn't exploded on us. It's actually, I think it's running better. I think the power supply is cleaner. This thing used to crash all the time randomly. So 4 megs, 12 megahertz, unlimited storage with my USB stick here from 2006. It is good stuff. All right, well, that's going to do it for now. But I want to thank you all for tuning in. This was fun, and I'm glad I got it working again. We'll come back and do more with it, because this is all original hardware. It's good stuff. So I will catch you all in the next stream. Have a good evening and enjoy your Sunday. Bye.